So,
okay,
here we are. We were asked to give a brief history of the Guild for the Guild meeting, and I'm not sure I'm going to be at the meeting. You've been working late nights.
Yes.
Not sure that Kim's going to be able to be at the meeting. So our goal is to keep this to 10 to 15 minutes. So we're going to slam through some questions, and here we are at the kitchen table, which, interestingly enough, is where the Guild started.
It's so true.
Different kitchen table.
Different kitchen
Different
table
part of the room.
at the other end of the room.
Yeah.
Right. But
So,
exactly where it started. Yep.
So I wrote down the questions that were on Facebook so that we could use those to guide our conversation. So the original black sheep, technically, I guess that's us.
That's us. We came up with the idea.
Yeah, Kim Whelan, and I'm Tanya Thomann. Technically, though, the first dues-paying member was Jane Hill.
Yes.
She was an employee at Have You Any Wool, excellent knitting teacher. She's the first person who gave us her $10, and technically is member number 1.
Yeah.
Why is it called a guild?
Well, a guild is different than a circle or just knitting. A guild has purpose of increasing skills and education, along with getting together and having a unit and a meeting and a set schedules and stuff like that. So it's just a little bit different than just gathering and social knitting.
And initially we really thought that it was important to be affiliated with the Knitting Guild Association of America, or TKGA, which I don't know where they're at right now. I think TKGA is gone, but some of their programs are still around. But that was important to us. It felt like it gave us a little bit of credibility as opposed to just a few people saying, hey, come knit with us, learn some things with us.
True.
So, Jenny asked a question about, because it's called a knitting guild, are there other crafts or arts included? And we have lots of members that do lots of different things, but the programming for the knitting guild generally is around knitting. So there might be, like, we've had some programs that have like crocheted edging for knitting, or that might be ways to use your fiber differently. I don't know if we've had anything about
speakers that have done different things.
Spinning. Remember when Marilyn Grazzo came from Grazzoli? What is Marilyn's last name? Anyway, Unique Knits came and did a really cool demo on spinning with all sorts of really unique fibers and whatnot. Joan from Heritage came and did a cool presentation on weaving one year.
Yeah.
So we have expanded beyond knitting, but the primary focus is knitting.
Right, and still is, and should probably always remain.
Yeah.
Because then you're not a knitting guild, you're a different guild.
Maybe
a weaving guild or a
fiber guild.
I guess, yeah.
So that kind of answers Jenny's last question, which was, is there educational programming? And that was our intent, was that it was to encourage people to grow their craft and grow their skills, which sort of answers Lori's question. She asked if it was fulfilling the same intent as it was, or had it changed since dramatically to accommodate the needs of knitters. And I think that every president has had their own spin on things.
Right.
And they've sort of allowed that flavor to sort of filter in during their presidency. But the Guild, I don't know if we had a mission statement to begin with.
I think we drafted one at one point, like in our second year. We might have drafted one. I seem to remember that we did. But
I remember there was something on the blog that said it was a maverick group of knitters, and Kate made us take it off because that was when Sarah Palin was running for office, and she used the word maverick in her campaign, and it started to get really overused, and Kate was like, we got to be done with that word. So we did have a mission statement or some kind of a purpose statement that had to do with growing skills and education and relationships and charity.
Well, too, remember, when we started the Guild, Tanya and I were relatively new knitters. So having educational programming was really important, because not only were we new knitters, but a lot of the Guild members were kind of newer knitters.
Or coming back to knitting.
Or coming back. And we wanted to learn things. I mean, there were so many things we didn't know, you know. So having educational and lessons and learning how to do things. I mean, we did the first year, like, learning to knit on double points. I mean, a lot of things were very new to a lot of us. So.
Right. Do you remember the spreadsheet that you made? We sent out a questionnaire to all of the members. At one point, it was probably in our third or fourth year.
Right.
And Kim knew and probably knows way more about spreadsheets than I do. But she not only like tallied up who wanted to learn about what, who could teach something, who had some comments about, like we had an amazing list of topics that not only were we interested in, we knew what people were interested in learning, but also who had those skills and would be able to share with the guild. And that was a pretty great resource.
Yeah, it was. It worked really well for a couple of years to ask different guild members to contribute and, hold a small mini lesson to, like putting in beads or, different things that we had no idea how to do. So that worked out really well for a while.
And we had a lot of knitting teachers, a lot of people who worked, I shouldn't say a lot. One of the questions was about the size of the guild when we started, and we were really going to be hopeful if we had like 15 members, I think.
At the end of our first year.
Yeah, we thought if we had 15 people who said, here's our $10, we want to get together with you, we thought it would be a success.
Right.
And I think at the end of that first year, we were close to 25.
Yeah, I think we were
right
almost
around
double
there.
of what we thought.
So that was really exciting. We met actually right across the street from my house at Anderson Middle School in their media center because it was free. If you were able to say that the majority of your group were Berkeley residents, they would allow you to use a room for free, and the media center seemed as good a place as any.
Yeah.
So we met there for the first year, and then we were kind of nomadic for a few years.
Yeah.
We met at the Berkeley Community Center for a while.
Yeah.
We met in the lobby of a bank, the Fifth Third Bank that's no longer there any longer. We met there for a while. We've met at a handful of different churches.
Yeah, well, what happened was, we thought we'd be great, but we just kept exponentially growing so quickly that we outgrew every space before, so we did the school, and then it got to be, we were too big, and they were
switching
dates.
Do things. They were switching dates on us. We weren't able to have that consistent date.
So we went to the community center, and we're like, oh, we need this room, and we can do this, and he was really great, and let us use it, and we got it, I think free because of something.
It was either free or super cheap.
Yeah, but we outgrew that. We outgrew that before the year was up. So we went to the bank lobby. We outgrew that within a couple meetings. So that's we just kept growing so quickly those first, I'd say, 5 years or so, that we just kept outgrowing our spots really quite
We had
fast.
a great space at the Catholic church that closed.
Oh, I love that.
That was a really great space.
My favorite place.
Yeah, it had huge round tables, lots of great space. It didn't have any AV things, but we bought a microphone that we could use so we could hear each other.
Right.
And that seemed to be a really good fit for us. And then the Catholic diocese started closing churches, so that church closed. So then we moved to
the
Lutheran church, and so we've tried a bunch of different places. I think that those first couple of years where things were cheap or free for us really have tainted our perspective on what we should pay for rooms. So that's made things kind of tricky.
Right.
Nancy asked about, because I'm kind of looking at her questions right now, about the geographical area, and it's really kind of Berkeley, Royal Oak, Birmingham. I mean,
that's because that's where we were, but we have people who come from all over.
We've had members from Detroit. We've had members from Farmington.
Yeah, we have people from, Kathleen comes from quite a ways on the west side. Julia comes from the east side.
Yep.
So people will come, a good piece, once a month. Yes, most of us are within the Berkeley, Royal Oak, Clawson, Birmingham, right around the Huntington Woods area, but they will come from a ways.
I guess it really depends on how far you feel like driving on a winter evening when it's dark out, which kind of speaks to that age of our average age of knitters. I'll say most of us are middle-aged to older women. We have had some male members. We've had some young knitters, but we tend to skew older and female.
Right, we do.
So, which actually I think is probably true of the craft. It tends to skew older and female, but we're certainly open to having all genders. We're open to having all ages.
I think there's a lot of younger knitters out there I think that the difference is with the younger knitters out there, they just don't have any interest in joining a guild.
Yeah.
So I think there's tons of young knitters out there. They're very trendy. They're, they do a lot of great things. They just don't want to join a guild. They'd rather meet at a pub. They'd rather, have a looser group. I think it's the guild itself that maybe is becoming more dated as an entity.
That might be. That might be. And I don't think that we do as much publicity as we used to either.
That's true.
We used to actively solicit people to join a guild, and there were events and things that we were at that allowed us to do that. Linda asked, how was the name selected and were others considered?
Yes, others were considered.
What were the others?
I can't remember now, but I remember
I would have said
that.
no.
Oh yeah, they were. There were other ones considered because I remember us going back and forth with this because you really wanted Black Sheep, and I wasn't really sure that should be our name. But so I do remember us going back and forth. I just don't remember what the other ones were.
Kim must have gone back and forth because I don't remember it all.
Yeah,
we were members of another guild that were not so kind to their members,
right.
And there was kind of some backstabbing, sort of a leadership takeover sort of thing happening there, and we weren't super happy about it. So we've said we can do better. We're going to start our own guild, and I said we're kind of like the Black Sheep, and so that's where the name came from.
Right.
Donna asked about how many charities we have contributed to, and I did give Judith a call. She thinks that we've knit over 3,000 items for charity in our history. She wasn't at home when I talked with her, so we didn't have that exact total, but we've knit for SOS, we've knit for Project Night Night, Head Start, Rose Cancer Center, for lots of homeless organizations, Knit Michigan, Providence Hospital, Vets Returning Home, Mittens for Detroit, and it's include hats and scarves and newborn hats and preemie hats and blankets and stuffed animals and baby sweaters and knitted knockers and mittens.
I can't even imagine how
there's been so many different things. We collect well over 100 items when we do a push for a specific item.
Right.
And I remember that one year at Knit Michigan, we donated several hundred hats that were chemo caps for them. So we've done lots and lots of charity knitting over the years. It never costs a member anything to participate in that. You don't have to purchase your own yarn. Judith has done an amazing job of kind of gathering any donated yarn, putting it together into kits and handing it back to us. So we think that it's something really special when it was our grandmother's acrylic yarn from her stash or whatever. Right. And that's been pretty great. She did mention that she will have lots and lots of kits available through the course of the winter.
Good.
Because it seems like that's what people are interested in grabbing, is just grabbing a kit so they know exactly what to do. She's trying to figure out a way to make that happen, but she may have already said that in this meeting. I'm not sure. Right. Retreat history. We have gone on a retreat every year except last year.
Except last year.
The first year was at Kim's sister's house, which
that they own no longer. Up in one of the bays of Traverse. And it was hard. It was very funny because we struggled to get enough people to go. We figured 10 to be able to afford it. And
we had 2 non-members join us so that we could make that 10.
Right. And we struggled. And
we cooked our own food.
And we did. It was a fun retreat. I mean, we had knit-alongs and we had different things and we had a lesson and we had...
Harriet was there and Chris Hamill was there and you and I... Was Judith there?
I don't remember. I think she might have been.
I think she was. I'm pretty sure she was.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a good time. And much like other things, we started to outgrow things. So we went to... a place in Jackson. We've been to...
Well, the thing is we struggled that first year. And from then on, like the next year, we were going to have to limit people because people were signing up as quick as we could mention it. And it grew very quickly. So it's, participation has ebbed and flowed over the years. Just because I think that's what happens, and as people do things or things come up in lives and stuff, but we still manage to have a good number. There's always been like over 20 that go, I think. I've made it to everyone but one. And the only one I didn't make it to was the year before last, and strictly because it conflicted with a trip I had planned, and I just couldn't do it. And that was actually the first one I missed.
Yeah.
So, and I
Harriet's been to all of them.
Harriet's been to everyone.
Yeah. So ask her about the retreat.
Yeah.
She'll tell you all about it.
Yeah.
Kiki asked, she said, it's crazy times right now. What was the craziest meeting? And the only thing I could think of that was crazy at a meeting was one of the first brown bag swaps. Judah thinks it was Merritt that found at like the Salvation Army or some thrift store a bag, like a huge bag of some yarn with some cashmere in it. I mean, it was really lovely yarn. And there was like a, I don't know, $10, $15 limit on the brown bag swap. And she got it for well under the limit, but it was a huge volume of yarn, and that must have been stolen from people. Like, I don't know, a dozen times. That's the only thing I could think of. And then the other thing, as you were talking about the retreat, I thought about the second year at Hankered. I don't know, one of the years that we were at Hankered Inn in Jackson, Kate was, I think, vice president, and she said, what if we see if we can get donations from people to have some door prizes.
That was fun.
And it was like Oprah's show. Like, we had these knitting bags from Namaste, and they were packed with all sorts of things. It must have been our first year because Rita was there to do some dyeing instruction.
Yeah, it was our first year in Jackson. It was our second retreat then.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the prizes just kept coming. Like, that first night we got, like, everybody was like, whoa, we got all this. And then when we went to breakfast the next morning, there were more prizes, and everybody got a door prize. That was really fun. Yeah,
it was fun. Back then, you had a lot of, knitting was going through a big growth period, so you had a lot, and the social media was coming into play. So, which never did before. So you had a lot of independent dyers and businesses, and they wanted to give you things. Like, they wanted to promote, and we just were really lucky.
Right. And we did it. I think we did a nice job of thanking them. We made sure there were handwritten thank you notes to everybody that everybody at the retreat signed. We posted things on our blog. We had a blog at one point that we, kind of kept meeting notes. You can look up bskg.blogspot.com, and you can look back through some of those old photos and old information.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the history of the guild. Last two questions. Past presidents, how many have we had, and how many are still active? Lori will be our 15th president. Yep. Okay. And only Kate has served twice, so that means that there are 14 past presidents. Many of them are still active. I think the only one that isn't is Louise, who was our first president.
Yeah, I think everybody else is still here.
Charlie and Kelly and Kathy and Harriet
I think they're all still
a lot of the members that you see at lots of events and who are pretty actively knitting, they are some of our past presidents. So maybe we'll come up with a list and we'll add that at some point. But if you're watching this on Zoom, maybe afterwards Lori can have all the past presidents raise their hand. That would be kind of cool. So congratulations, Black Sheep Knitting Guild, on your 15th October meeting. This is the beginning of our 15th year. I'm not sure what that is for anniversary gifts, but maybe it's wool, which would be pretty great.
Yeah.
So we're so thankful that you came on the journey with us, and thankful that you asked us to share this information. We hope it was entertaining. We'll see you on Facebook and at Guild.
And if you have any more questions, you can send them our way. We'll try to answer them as best as we can, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks.
Bye.